All right. So it says here that you are a situationalist, and I
Sim-height.
don't know what that means. So tell me what a situationalist is, or simulationist.
No,
I'm
sim-height.
sorry, I totally misread that. Simulationist. I do kind of know what that
Yeah,
is. Tell me.
I think we live in a video game, to put it bluntly.
Okay. So like I know it's not the cool analogy anymore, but like the Matrix, right? Like we're in a simulation.
Yeah, right.
Although there is an episode of Dark Mirror. I don't know if you're watching Dark Mirror in season 7. There's a simulation episode in that one
Black
you might
Mirror?
want to check out. Black Mirror, yeah.
Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you watch that show on Netflix?
I did not.
It's
I did
it's
not
the new
know that. I'm gonna have to
it's
get
the
on
new
Netflix
Twilight
and
Zone.
look it out.
Anyway,
Yeah.
But,
Okay, so it's like an episodic thing where it doesn't have any
Exactly.
like continuous.
that's correct. You
Okay.
can watch any episode from any of
Anthology.
the 7 seasons. They're all one-offs, absolutely. And it's similar
Right.
to it's Twilight Zone. You always get to the end, and it's like a similar kind of a thing. But so let me ask you this though: what difference should that make to me? Or maybe it doesn't. Does it make a difference to me if I live in a simulation, or if it's a physical world that has rules? Like I can only live my life with the rules that are presented to me, right?
Yeah, we
Like,
can only live life according to our physics.
yeah. So does it actually make a difference if it's a simulated universe or a real universe on a pragmatic basis?
Not really, but I just want to know which is which. Like, I want to know if we live in a
Oh, sure.
simulation or if this is actually like universe prime.
But a really good simulation would be indistinguishable. You kind of agree with that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's the whole point of a simulation is immersion.
Right.
Like the very best video game is the game you play not knowing it's a game.
But
All
in
right,
most
so
of the
it says-
games, in most of the games, there's a goal and a point or a mission. Do you think you know what the goal of the game is?
I don't know, but I honestly think it's world peace, and not all games have that kind of thing. Sin City, for example, like you don't win at Sin City. You just build up the population and make life as good as it can be. There's no winning Sim City. It's just like maintaining that city. And in Skyrim, you can do the same thing where you just skip the main goal and you go straight for the side quest and you start like making people's lives around you better. You don't have to have a main goal for it to be a game.
Okay.
All right. So it says here that you think ghosts are real and we have enough evidence to prove it. Is that the main thing you wanted to chat about?
That is the main thing. And I want to start with my own personal story.
Hold
like,
on. I'm sorry, real quick. RAL, are the ghosts simulated as well?
Well, okay. Have you ever recorded over a cassette tape that had something on it already?
Yep.
And you know how like there's echoes of what was recorded before? I'm sorry, anybody under 40 years old, a cassette tape is something that you used to put in a stereo to record music.
These kind of thoughts tickle my brain. So I like these kind of thoughts just as experiments. So go ahead.
So we're all old enough to get it. So you carry on.
Yeah.
All right. So you take a cassette tape and you record over something that was already recorded on. You can hear echoes of what was recorded first. And that's why tapes get diminished over time, is because the more you keep recording, the more echoes you get. Well, I think ghosts are just echoes of people who were here before. And like it gets recorded over, so we only see like vague shadow figures or translucent figures.
So what's the medium? What's the medium that we are, if something is being continually erased and recorded over, are these the atoms of the universe that get reused in different people, or what's the medium that you think this is?
I think it's just like lost memory of stuff that has happened. Like, it's not atoms being recirculated, it's just something that happened before happening over again because it got recorded over. Because, like, even in the best simulation, you're going to have limited memory space.
Well, so are you saying that our thoughts, that our brains are somehow made of stuff that were previous people's brains that weren't atoms?
Not weren't atoms, but if you think about it like this, you are cow shit. I'm cow shit. Like, we get buried or cremated, and something absorbs us, and then something else absorbs that. Like, worms eat the
Yeah,
dirt, birds
just
eat the worms.
that's what I was talking about with atoms, though, right? Like, there is a, even though it's a very high number, there's a finite number of atoms in the finite universe. So I guess that's what I was
Yeah,
talking about, right?
okay. Well, I don't think there's a number of finite atoms. I think that, like, it's finite to a point, but I think that we grow exponentially from the Big Bang. I think that, like, I don't think atoms are being recreated.
All right. So Brady and I love that. We're not poo pooing this at all. We're actually loving the
Right.
thought experiment. We're all going through it. But I actually need to get to, just for the sake of the show, we had the sentence you said, we have enough evidence to prove it. If we have time, I want to
Oh,
get back to your notion. But what is the evidence to prove it?
Mm.
all right. I'm gonna first talk about personal experience. Like, I'm not sure if it was Tanner or Chris, but one of my friends was like in bed with me, like when I was like 10 or 11, and he was like at a sleepover, and we saw the standby lights on old stereos, the red light when the power was off.
Sure.
All right, we saw something pass by it. And then we both looked at each other like, "Did you see that?" "Yeah, I saw that." "Fuck, what the fuck do we just see?" So we both went into the kitchen to see if my mom or her boyfriend went to the kitchen, and there was nobody there. So that's my personal experience with ghosts. But
Okay.
the evidence
But
shows that ghosts exist, because even if 99.99% of the videos that we see on Slap Ham are fake, that still leaves the 0.001 that says ghosts are real. So you have to
okay.
say that all the video evidence that we have is fake in order to say that ghosts weren't real.
What if I said that? What if I said that you're misattribute? What if they may not be fake videos, but people are misattributing it to ghosts when it's actually something else?
Well, a lot of times that is the case, but there's some things that we just can't explain, and you have to, like, literally convict people of lying in order
Did
to
you?
say that.
No, no, no. People can be wrong. People can be
Yeah.
very, very, very sincerely wrong, right? Like,
Great.
I,
Yeah,
I've
people
I've
can.
been incredibly wrong and was passionately telling people something about X, Y, and Z. Turns out later, and this isn't even super, like, I was just wrong, but I was
Mm.
super passionate.
I know people can be wrong. I used to be Christian.
Are you still a
uh,
theist?
Somewhere in between. I think there's something
Okay.
outside of the universe, but I don't think it's like a god type of character. I think it's a bunch of idiots just like us who have better computer skills.
so RAO, is your evidence is that you had a personal experience that you couldn't explain, and that you're positing that there are other things, even though you're not identifying them specifically, the mere possibility of things that are not currently explained is evidence for ghosts. Is that a reasonable summary of your evidence?
I'm saying that unless 100% of the videos that we see on, like I said, I don't want to fucking tag it again, but Slapped Ham does a whole shitload of stuff on ghosts and aliens and all that kind of stuff. And we have to say that all of those videos are fake or misleading in order
Yeah,
for us to say there are no ghosts.
and do you understand that I am perfectly comfortable saying that all of them are fake or misleading?
Me too.
So you're calling a whole bunch of people liars.
No, I'm saying I think some are liars and some are sincerely mistaken.
Mm.
And none of them have any actual fucking presence.
Well,
I'm sorry
I'm
talking
open
so
to
much.
that.
I've been
No, I'm open to that, but I'm not, just by telling me that there is a third category of correct isn't evidence that there is anything in that category, right? So I was hoping when you said you have enough evidence to prove it, you weren't just saying, well, there's three categories, so therefore there must be something in each of those three categories. The three categories being lying, mistaken, or true, right? So do you have something more to tell me that there is actually something in that middle circle where it's true?
the middle circle isn't true. The middle circle is misleading. The
Okay, well,
last
whichever circle
circle
you
is
want to call
true.
it. So there's three categories:
Yep.
A, B, and C: lying, mistaken, supernatural. Right? Like, so
Right.
I have tons of examples of lying. I have tons of examples of mistaken. I've yet to see anything that's compellingly not one of those two things. So, but I acknowledge that it is a potential category. I'm not trying to poo-poo you. I'm just excited with the possibility that you might be able to tell me something, a reason why
Mm.
there is something in that third category.
Well, because we have to acknowledge that people have filmed different things. And we have photographic evidence of ghosts, we have video evidence of ghosts, we have personal evidence of ghosts. But
So,
unless you can say that all of them are false or misleading, then we have to take into consideration that 0.001%.
right, but you
Why do
understand
we
that
have
that
to do
possible.
that?
Yeah, that's the question. Why?
Because we can't just assume people are lying. Sorry about that.
So
We
I
can't just
think,
assume people are lying.
well, but not assuming that they're lying doesn't mean that we are convinced yet, right? Like, you said there's enough evidence to prove it, or I'm not even going to take that word off the table. You think there's enough evidence that we should believe. Brady and I are nodding our heads saying that is a possible category. It is absolutely a possible category, but acknowledging that it's a possible category isn't evidence that it's real.
Then you're just going to have to look into it more or experience it for yourself in order to know, because it's hard. I know it's hard to believe in ghosts. It's hard to believe that there's something outside of an afterlife.
I
But
think
at
it's
the
super
same
easy.
time,
Go ahead. Sorry, carry on. Shouldn't have
no.
interrupted you there.
Well, let's think about it like this: the Christian ideology has a heaven and hell. But if you put ghosts into the picture, it diminishes the idea of a heaven and hell, because there's some kind of afterlife outside of Christianity where there's just fragments of people walking around that never went to heaven or hell.
I mean, depending on your flavor of Christianity, I know a lot of Christians who want to point to near-death experiences and a lot of these kind of things, and they would even acknowledge, like, the Witch of Endor in the Old Testament, for example, was, bringing people back to have conversations. And Jesus,
Mm.
there was a transfiguration where he talked to Moses and was it Elijah on the mountain. So I think lots of flavors of Christianity, except that this, you're probably right. There's probably some flavors of Christianity that would think ghosts are a problem. I think some would embrace it. It's hard to say.
But just
Yeah.
all I'm saying is that there's enough video evidence out there that you would have to claim that it's all false or misleading.
Well, I will say this. Every single time I have gone to look,
Mm.
when people have told me the best one that they think is the best one, to me it's entirely unconvincing, especially as someone who worked 8 years in the film industry on visual effects.
Hmm.
And so I sure know a lot about how to make, even without a computer, how to make things look interesting on
Yeah.
camera. So
You want
and
my
also the
best
weird
one?
Go for it.
My
You say?
best one is a video from a dispensary in Oregon or Washington. I can't remember which one. But it is illegal to tamper with a video in a dispensary because of, like minors trying to buy pot and all that kind of stuff.
Nothing illegal
So
has ever
there's
happened. That's what I
Right.
would, especially at a dispensary. No illegal
Immediately my
thing
mind
has
went
ever
there.
happened at a dispensary. But carry on.
but the video is illegal to be tampered with, and they put it on the news. So they were pretty freaking confident that what was going on was
No,
real. Otherwise, they
the
would have had
news
to
is
face
not a
legal
standard
charges.
of the news. I don't know how much you watch the news these days. The news is not a standard of we only put true things on the news. Like, I don't care. Okay, sorry.
It
So
wasn't
I'm going to
Fox
look this
News.
up. I'm going to look this up. I'm going to look up dispensary ghost in Seattle or whatever, and I will check it out. But I will tell you, like, camera lenses, like
Mm.
where I was going with this is even without computers, like lenses and recordings and light create weird things sometimes on artifacts that are like
Oh
people who
no,
know about this
this
stuff.
is like a fish tank, I think, a bowl that looked like a goldfish tank being knocked over off of the shelf on the dispensary,
Okay,
like
so
poltergeist stuff.
all right. Well, I'm willing to look it up, but I guess I will look it up. I promise. The I just putting it on the news is not really like helping the case. The
Yeah.
dispensary is not helping the case. Just a bunch of things here that are on the face of it seems a little weird. Do you acknowledge though that you have not proven this? That you're putting this in the category of because I can't explain it, I'm going to say ghosts.
Well, I'm using ghost as kind of a blanket term because it's just stuff that like either we can't see or we can barely see, or it's just reminiscent of an older time when things got recorded over.
All right. Well, RAO, I appreciate this call. It's been a good conversation. We've been chatting for a while, and I have other calls to
Yeah.
get to. Next time I'm in a dispensary, I'm going to think of you, and I'm going to think about ghosts and how possibly maybe we are erasing an over my consciousness might be an over erased tape. These are all
Mm.
fun thoughts to have after the dispensary. Thank you, RAO. Have a
Yeah.
great night.
All right, much love, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm. Yeah, I think a dispensary trip would be great for something like that.
Yeah, it seems like maybe he's been himself, maybe, or I mean, that's
Mm.
not disparaging. In Canada, it's legal.
Right.
That's all a good
Yeah.
thing.